HooHooHooRobin.
How you doing, Mr. Baker?
Doing?
Very good seeing you
out of
again.
his mind.
Yeah. I couldn't take it this morning.
I think the whole Obama thing is really getting to him.
Yeah.
Well,
I
no.
would have thought you just would have been in such a good mood after the whole Bin Laden.
Yeah.
Well, I am in a good mood about that. I had altercation with some driving this morning
so
on
I
my way
hear.
in, and you know, and the fact that Obama is you know, coming down to ground zero and going to be screwing up New York City again. Could you just give your speeches from the White House? It's very nice. Very good.
It's important that he
happened.
goes to ground zero. That's Thursday, right? I want to start by saying I saw you all over the TV yesterday, Mike Baker.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that.
You're a big get right
Mike's
now.
the go-to guy.
I'm a huge guy.
And-
Yeah, although I was bigger during the royal wedding.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah, I was all over the place.
And you're usually a Fox guy, but I think I saw you on CNN yesterday, right?
Oh, you shouldn't have said that.
Oh, Jesus.
Is that going to mess you up a little bit?
No. You know what? I'm
It was
good to go
CNN?
anywhere. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
a complete media whore. I'll go anywhere.
Do it. Go anywhere. Why not? Wow, so much to get into. First of all, we all heard how this happened. So far, the details are still coming in. But as far as when this started, when the real intelligence came in that this guy's probably in Pakistan, this compound is very suspicious. Do you have any idea when that first started really ringing some bells?
Yeah, you know, the amazing thing about this is you know, you get that 40 or so minutes on the ground, right? And rightly so, everybody's fixated on that because that's the hot time. But
Sure.
To get to that point, you got an incredible amount of work that goes on ahead of time. And what happened was they started picking up some information all the way back to 2007, really.
Wow.
You know, even a little bit before then, from detainees. And where were those guys? They were, you know, being held.
Yep.
By the agency.
Yeah.
And of course, that program wasn't very popular for quite a while. So
Didn't Khalid Muhammad mention the name? Didn't they get it from him?
well, they got it from they were picking up stories from a variety of places about individuals, because what they were looking for was you're looking for anybody who's somewhere in Bin Laden's orbit, and you're trying to find some point of entry, right? And so they didn't care who it was, somebody who was handling money, logistics, whatever it could be, and they started getting some stories involving the same pseudonym, the same alias. And once you do that, you're getting, you know, over here you get one, you know, detainee talking about it. He mentions the alias. You think, that's interesting, because over here, you know, last month somebody mentioned the same person.
Kind of corroborates
Right.
the
So then you
stories.
start triangulating in, and what they started running these names in a very coordinated fashion. Interrogations are incredibly labor intensive. So unlike what, you know, all the crap was in the media about, oh my God, interrogations,
Waterboarding.
it's a very controlled atmosphere.
Right.
And so you take all this information, and they started running it past Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and one other individual, Libby, and these guys just blanked, right? They had some, we don't know, you know, it didn't ring any bells. And, you know, in an interrogation, that sort of thing, if you've been picking up sort of a consistency from independent interrogations, that'll ring a bell. And rightly so, they thought, well, hold on a second, if both these guys are blanking on this pseudonym or this alias, then maybe we got something here. They started working that, more, you know, personnel out in the field, more recruits in terms of Pakistani agents, everything they could find, and they eventually got a family name for for this guy who was a courier.
Wow.
And
A courier does what? Brings information or brings the tapes back and forth? What exactly do they do?
pretty much anything, you know. I mean, he's running messages. It's
like Kenny.
Not so much running cash, you know, but yeah.
Does he go grocery shopping?
In fact, one of the detainees actually coughed up Kenny's name.
Yeah, Kenny gave up Club Soda Kenny.
Yes. He said, Lurch.
Code name Dummy.
Khalid Sheikh Mohammed said, I don't recognize the name. And so, but that's the sort of work that it took. And they got the family name. Once you get the family name, then you take it. It's you know what, in a way, it's like an investigation you'd watch on CSI or anything else. It is incredibly painstaking and labor intensive, not particularly exciting, but you got to do all that work to get your 40 minutes on target.
Right. To get the big to go to the big game, as they say.
Exactly.
It's fascinating to learn that they were watching this in real time at the White House. Now that's like Hollywood movie stuff right there.
Yeah, it's like a Tom Clancy thing. Isn't it?
Thinking that they're sitting there actually watching. Now I would guess some helmet cams.
Yeah, a lot of coverage, as you can imagine, because you know, and it's not so much cover your ass, although unfortunately in today's world, there's got to be an element of that. But a lot of it is also for verification purposes, forensic purposes. They want to make sure that they've got a lockdown on everything there, including the people, the gear that they're picking up, and they picked up some tremendous material off of this.
Oh man, from what I heard, now obviously we just hear what's filtered through the news, but from what I heard, a lot of computer equipment, a lot of storage.
A lot of Bin Laden's porn stash.
Yes. And that would just be a kicker if you looked in there and just said,
how great would that be?
He's into Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah. But they got Osama.
Particularly if it was, like goat porn or something.
But they basically got Osama's hard drive. That's just amazing.
Right. Absolutely. And I think one of the best things about this is the fact that it was just outside of Islamabad, right?
Yeah.
And, the Pakistanis are all like, I don't.
Now this is really bringing up a lot of shit with the Pakistanis because it was next to what amounts to their version of West Point, so it was very relatively close to it. A huge complex that really didn't fit the neighborhood, and the Pakistanis are just saying, "Hey, we didn't know." Now, even saying we didn't know makes them look stupid because how do you not know? Yeah, how do you not raise suspicion where you would go and maybe check it out or something?
Especially because this thing was being built in 2005, let's not forget. This isn't an old mansion. They keep saying a mansion. It's more of a compound that they started building in 2005 and no one is suspicious that this thing is going up.
And you know what this shit is like overseas? In places like this, right? Anything that's happening is more interesting than what's going on in your day, right? So everybody in that neighborhood, which is it's a nice area, it's a kind of a picturesque part of Pakistan, but all these people out there are saying things like, well, we had no idea, we're so surprised, and you get somebody saying, well, you mean that tall guy down the street? Well, I always had my suspicions.
But, What do you think the cover story was? What do you think they gave? They had to tell people in the neighborhood something. When they're walking by and they're seeing these big walls pull, I wonder what they said. Like, no, it's just
mind your own beeswax, probably.
No, they probably told them it was something else. I wonder what they told people that was believable.
Right. A lot of the military retired to that area, so maybe that knock down the suspicion slightly. I don't know.
They might have told him it was for a general or something.
Who knows?
I mean, from a cover standpoint, it was a smart move, right? For a variety of reasons. Basically, he's thrown himself right in plain sight, almost. And then he's also put himself in an urban area. Obviously, the last thing that he wanted to do was get hit by a drone. So he knew that drones aren't going to be flying over that right. So there was smart reasons for them to put him there, but it's inconceivable. There is no way in hell that there weren't individuals in the Pakistani intel service and military who did not know that he was there.
He was there.
There's just no possible fucking way.
It's just so odd that for so many years, and you realize how long he had probably been in this compound here, but for all those years that we just pictured him in that cave, kind of on a little blanket, and just thought he was there for almost 10 years, after 9/11, that he was just huddled in that. And meanwhile, he's got his bed, he's got his computer.
Well, they showed a satellite dish.
Yeah.
Guy was living large.
He's got his Spike TV and all that.
Sure. No, Netflix.
How long was he living there? They're starting to say at least 3 years, right?
Yeah, they think it was a good long time. And so, if you go, at the end of the day, even a year is, excessive when you think about where that location is.
Where it is.
What's required. So, again, we'll go through a dance right now, and we already have started that dance. Secretary Clinton went out yesterday and talked about the terrific support and cooperation of
the Pakistani government. Yeah,
what the hell is that all about?
That came out of nowhere, and it was like, why are you even saying that?
Right.
Like, not only is it utter bullshit, but you probably would get more mileage by not saying anything than saying, wow, they really helped. Did they?
Well, did it come out that we didn't even tell them?
Yeah,
right. I mean,
we couldn't trust them at all.
We couldn't trust them, right? And there were scenarios that are drawn. Anytime you have something like this, obviously, what happens, and you present the information to the president. The president will say, okay, well, go away and come up with a plan. And so JSOC, the Joint Special Operations Command, and the CIA, together put together some scenarios. One of the scenarios was actually to do a joint op with the Pakistani military. So you can imagine what that was like. Okay, scenario 3. Now
let's tuck that aside and
put that in the shredder.
Is it possible that they passed the information to the U.S. and then just wanted nothing to do with it because of backlash, but from giving him up? Like, is it possible that giving him up to us presented a lot of backlash from their people who really are? A lot of them, they're Muslim. I mean, and they might have rather have looked stupid than have looked like they fucking betrayed him to the U.S.
No, I see where you're going with that. I mean, it's anything's possible. I don't think that's I don't think that there's any chance that happened. Right. Honestly, that if that were going to happen, he would have been long gone. I mean, there's a concerted effort here. And again, you don't want to make too much of it. It's not a government-wide conspiracy. It's not like the entire Pakistani military and government were in on this.
There's enough rats in there.
Right. There was enough. And we've always known that. We've always known there's sympathizers within the intel service over there and within the military. So that's not a surprise. But we've always been able to play this game, that says, well, but we're still pretty much on the same sheet of music. Well, in a way, we are, because their sheet of music says, we don't want our power base to fall, right? They've got their own special interests. We got ours. Sometimes they match, and sometimes, more often than not, they don't really mix. But we do this all the time overseas.
Yeah.
So
how are we able to get the people that we needed, the helicopters and the resources, in to Pakistan, pretty close to the capital, relatively speaking, and without them knowing, without the Pakistani government, picking it up and saying, "Hey, who the hell are these guys?"
We used a CIA time portal.
Love those.
We haven't talked
portals
about before, but I guess we might as well disclose it now because
I knew it.
Yeah,
it's a time portal.
Yeah. They told me to say at least one thing that nobody knew about. Yeah. When I come on the show.
Exclusive time portal.
Exactly. But it's the flight went in from just across the border in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
We got operating bases all over, but this came out of Jalalabad, and the surrounding area, and it's where that house, where that compound is located, is maybe a half day's drive from there to the Afghan border. That's a drive, right? Everything takes forever in a vehicle over there. So you load up the choppers, you head out. It's a harrowing journey, but it's a quick one, relatively speaking.
Right.
And they're coming in low. But it's a good question, because one of the biggest issues they had, because we're not doing a joint op, was they got to get in, right? They got to get out without some big fucking goat rope with the Pakistani military.
Right. Yeah. That would have sucked.
That would have sucked. That would have sucked.
Yeah.
Yo. And so they got in. They had a lot of air assets up there besides the choppers, obviously.
I'm sure.
And everything from the drones to surveillance to gunships. But it was a hell of an operation. But it was a very well planned operation. I mean, these guys and the guys that were involved in this, the SEALs, and also the CIA paramilitary, personnel. I mean, if you're not doing it, you're training, right? And so there's no downtime. You're always training. And in something like this, once they decide on the scenario, and once the president approves it, and the clock is really ticking at that point, because you've gotten your surveillance in, right? You've got eyes on target. So you've already got assets out there, and you've got now a problem. How much time do you spend training and preparing for it? And then how much is too much time, because you might lose the opportunity, or the information might get out. Somebody finds out about it. So
it's got to be a nerve-wracking time.
That's that point in time where it's really high speed, right? Because you've got to make that calculation, and then now you got to go. And at a certain point, you're never going to have, just like they're going to be talking about this for a while now, but they didn't really have the visual that they wanted on Bin Laden. Right?
No, apparently no one really had confirmation that he was absolutely in that place.
Right, but you know what? They had enough information, and this is typical of really good operations. At some point, somebody's got to have the balls to just get off the X. Right, so you got to make that decision. And the agency and the SEALs came together and said, "Okay, we got it. We got enough to take this risk." And off you go. But I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I had a
amazing
question about that. Shit, forgot what I was going to ask.
Oh, Jimmy.
It was something about Bin Laden. Something about his house. Oh, Predator drones. How high do they fly? And do they have? Were they surveilling him 24 hours? You think? How are they keeping a 24-hour watch on him without people on the ground?
Drones and satellite coverage.
Oh, satellite.
The drones are. I mean, you're talking, way up there in the flight ceiling. 10,000, 12,000, higher. I mean, these things are. When you look at these things, they are. They're varying sizes too, depending on what you want. Oftentimes you see the pictures of the armed drones, right?
Right.
Pretty massive. But. The surveillance drones, you're talking about, a real high-speed, small things, but they'll stay up in the air also for, multiple days at a time.
And you couldn't even see them at that altitude with the size they are.
Absolutely not.
Well, how small are they?
You never see these coming.
How small are they?
You know what? I mean, honestly, I'm not giving away any sources and methods. Some of the stuff has been talked about, but I mean, the size of a pizza pan, some of these things. No, absolutely true. Yeah.
Oh, are they really?
Oh, yeah.
I took photos in front of them in Iraq. We got to sit in the actual control panel. They wiped it clean, as they say.
Yeah.
But they were like, they were big. They were like, almost as long as the room. But that's.
But they have to.
Those are the armed, where they
the armed
hellfire the shit out of something.
I'm thinking they have to control like we used to control our motorized helicopters and stuff. How do they keep them up without hitting a tree?
Guys standing out in the field.
Hey, and with the training, they do a mock compound somewhere.
Yeah, you'll set up in
I mean, it's as close to exact as possible.
Absolutely, and so the people, there's so many people involved in something. I mean, well, okay, it's not like there's thousands of people involved, but there are people that never get any recognition. I mean, all the way down to the guys that are putting together these mock-ups. Ballistic shooting houses, basically, that are built off the blueprints of, for instance, this compound.
So when those guys went in, they were very familiar with it after all the training they did.
Yeah, exactly. To as much as you always, your preference is just train. Right. But they had such good coverage on this place because we had so much surveillance going on and coverage of it leading up to this. Once we finally determined we've got a target here that's really credible. That you got almost everything except for the architectural blueprints, right? So you know that's 15 paces once you breach that door, to that corridor, and that corridor is going to go left and then it's going to go right. You know how high that wall is that you got to be concerned with, and this is what these guys do.
Sure. As far as surveillance goes, so you have surveillance on the compound. I've always wondered this when you're watching somebody. A van leaves the place. How do you know Bin Laden's not in that van?
Well, I mean,
because it seems like that's the easiest way to get someone out. All of a sudden, a van pulls up. Next thing you know, the van pulls away. And you're sitting there as the surveillance guys going, "What the fuck is he in there?"
Right. If it's not, you're right. If it's not a Prius or something like that, and you can't see through the windows, then.
But how does that play out with you guys?
Well, the short answer is you don't know, and that's actually a good point because what you get used to, and what I've found when I talk to people is, beach books, movies, they expect everything to be cut and dried, right? It's all okay. It's either this or it's that. Well, it's never that. I mean, it's always fucking gray and murky, and you're making decisions and you're moving forward based on really imperfect information, and so you never get to that point where you have 100% confirmation or 100% quality intel.
So it obviously freaks you out if you see a van come and go. You're like, wow, is he even in there? Are we going to commit to this now?
But that, what that does is that sends all sorts of other things in play because then you got to have the resources in place to say, okay, well, somebody pick that up. And you take
and now look at the van, follow it,
figure out what the hell it
see who gets out of it,
and everything leads to something else. So now you got to worry about, well, fuck, we've never seen this vehicle before. Now we got to run that to ground, right? And you're talking about, it's not like here in New York City or someplace else. Not that the police work is easy, but it's not like you go to the DMV and shower and say, well, I'd like to look up the plate number, But so everything leads to something else. It's just like this never-ending,
It's what's that saying where every military plan falls apart with the first point of contact? It's just however much you plan, usually the first point of contact with the enemy, you're going to have to start thinking on your feet and changing it.
Absolutely.
Now, the copter is a prime example. That helicopter not being able to leave that compound, obviously they had a contingency plan for that.
Right.
They had enough resources to still get everybody out, which is great, and got rid of the old helicopter there. It's like, we can't have it, you can't have it.
No, I get to blow it up.
Did Obama make some ballsy calls here? Because they were saying that there was a few calls that weren't just like, all right, he's the president, he let it go. Like there was actually timing issues and stuff where he said, yeah, let's go for this or let's do this. Did he actually have something to actually do with this?
Oh no, absolutely. This would not have happened unless the president said, yeah, it's a go. I mean, if he hadn't authorized it. So you got to be fair. No matter what side of the fence you're on in something like this, you've got to have respect for the fact that it was given a green light and move forward. Because he could have kind of said, geez, I don't know. What if it doesn't work? If it doesn't work, I'm not looking.
I don't want to be the Jimmy Carter guy.
Exactly.
Didn't he say no to a bombing for that reason? Like because I think they said that Obama said no to a bombing because they might not be able to identify the body. And you're in a residential area, and if he's not there, and you kill civilians and he's not there, it's
well, and it turned out there was 20 some odd people in there, children and women. So if they did,
were there?
Yeah,
a lot of kids in there, like
so
toddlers.
23.
If they did fire a missile into there and just blew up a bunch of kids, might not look too.
I didn't know there was. I thought there was only 4. How did they? When they were landing, I guess the whole compound must have been alerted that they were there.
Yeah.
But I guess at that point, there's nothing they could do, right?
Well, no, I mean, exactly. Once because no matter how you'd like to think they're silent choppers, they make a fairly good racket. And so once they come in, they took some fire coming in. I mean, and so it's and all those kids that were in there, it's absolutely true. If we had chosen that scenario, and that was one of those scenarios, if they had chosen that bombing scenario, there would have been much less certainty over what had happened, and yes, we would have gotten them, but we would have magnified the potential for blowback.
Are you surprised there weren't more people protecting him? There was only 4 guys.
Yeah, given where he was though. Your trade-off for kind of hiding in plain sight is your reduced profile, right? So the more security personnel you got in there, the more logistics you got to worry about. The more efforts has got to be made to keep everything tamped down.
If you have 12 armed guys walking the perimeter, people are going to start going, hey. Who lives there?
Yeah, and
but what about 12 guys out of sight? I'm thinking because the place is big enough.
Yeah, but at some point they got to go out and get laid and whatever barbecue. You like thinking it's like the movies where his cronies are just always around him inside, but
they got lives
these
too.
are guys. They got to go out. They got to do shit.
They're all sitting out in the courtyard playing poker.
Something.
No, I see what you mean, but I think it's because they were staring at this place through satellite coverage and other surveillance means for months, trying to get a sense of what's the pattern of activity in here. We've got, because aside from just knowing the physical facilities and knowing heights of walls and everything, you got to know what is that pattern of activity, because again, what are you trying to do? You're trying to catalog people, you're trying to catalog activities, time of day when there's maybe downtime, what happens at midnight, if you're going to launch this thing at midnight.
What time did they go in? It was
about just a little after midnight.
Yeah. And I have to say, what a smart Bin Laden was smarter than I think a lot of people thought. They burned their own garbage, like little things that you might not think to do, where there's just nothing came out of there.
Nothing came out of there. Yeah.
Well, they had no phone line, no landline going in. They had no computers. The burning the garbage. I mean, honestly, it's interesting because the neighbors. Of course, now you're getting the neighbor thing that you get here in the U.S. Right? You got a psycho killer next to you. They all say the same thing. And here you're getting the same thing. You got a guy that's saying, well, we were so surprised. I actually read a quote from one of the locals who said, we were so surprised to find out. He says, my friend had met those people once at a bakery, and he told me about the tall bearded man, but he said he seemed very affable. I was so surprised. They seemed so nice and quiet.
Yeah. Hey, could you talk about the Navy SEALs a little bit? Yeah. This special unit.
Yeah.
Well, this was SEAL Team 6.
They sound like motherfuckers.
Yeah. All of, you know what? I got to tell you, they all are. I mean, they're all. Talk about fantastic. Talk about well trained. I mean, all the special forces, right? But and it's just the SEALs and 6 has been working in Afghanistan, since 2001, and so they are very familiar with the turf and the terrain. They are incredibly. Adaptable, right? So you throw a problem at them, and they're almost, I don't want to say they're cerebral, but they basically are. I mean, they're thinking soldiers, right? And they, not that the others are. That's not to disparage any of them, but they are a tremendous group, and the training that they go through and continuously go through, the single-mindedness that they have, and this operation, was just incredibly well put together. But it was also, I mean, a big, kudos out to the agency. I mean, the CIA was pretty much leading the charge in terms of the intel, and also military planning right alongside, because our paramilitary operations within the agency are just second to none.
No, it's speculative, obviously, and because we don't know for sure at this point. They said they encountered bin Laden, and he would not give up. He resisted, and he took a double tap to the head. Just speculation on your part, knowing some of the people in the mindset of some of this. What kind of chance do you think they really gave him to give up? Before they pop him twice in the noggin.
Okay, we're gonna get this straight. Yeah, you can imagine bin Laden, like he's scratching his ass, he's eating a hot pocket. He walks out to hear what the noise is all about, and and someone says, "Do you want to give up?" No, you know what? They took that seriously, honestly, because they knew this was going to be the end result. I mean, they walked this through. I mean, and these guys, they're not operating in a bubble, so they're not going to say, okay, here's our, they have these discussions, where they are brought in to understand the implications of things that may happen during the course of this operation, and so they took that command, to attempt to detain him seriously, but. You got a lot going on around you, right?
It's probably,
it is very chaotic moments, and so you're going to give them an opportunity, but you're not going to stretch that out into a
it's not going to be a negotiation a fucking blockade kind of a. Hey, he's in here. Let's talk him out.
Right, and
your mother's here. She's out here on the street, Osama.
Come on out, Osama.
Wait, do you really think that what they did was genius, because he's vanished? He's off the face of the earth. There's nowhere for people to go. There's nowhere to build a shrine, and he's not alive, so they can't take hostages, because people would be taking hostages all over the world to try to secure his release if they had kept him alive. You couldn't take him alive. You had to kill him.
It's impossible.
And having a place, a pilgrimage to go and have a place where he's buried to, inspire people. It is a very strategic thing, I think, that they just dumped him in the ocean.
That's great.
Right. Well, nobody was going to take that body anyway. I mean, reports are that they asked the Saudis, and I believe they did. I mean, he was a Saudi. You can imagine the Saudis saying, we don't want that.
Need that shit.
Yeah, and so nobody else was going to take him. And they were absolutely right to do what they did. They showed, frankly, and I think, for correct reasons, they showed some real sensitivity and said, okay, fine, we're going to stick with sort of Muslim burial practices. Yeah, all right, I get what they're doing with that. Frankly, would I who cares? But
exactly.
But you're thinking about the implications after the fact.
Right. But is that sensitivity, or is that smart, like using their own religion as an excuse to dump the body immediately? Like, hey, you guys are the ones that want to bury him immediately. Adios.
No, it's convenient. I mean, it's good that Muslim burial practices don't say we got to bury the body within 7 or 8 days.
Whatever. 24 hours. Come on, we got to help this guy out.
I don't think we care that he got a proper burial. I think Jimmy's onto something.
I think it was just a great way to get rid of him, and he's in the wind.
Yeah,
where do
absolutely.
You go?
So there's a guy out there that knows he killed bin Laden. I'm fascinated by that part of the whole story. Like, and the world will never know the guy.
Will we ever know who he is?
Well, you know what? The world being what it is now, I mean, if you had said this, if this had happened 30 or 40 or, during our parents' generation, World War II, no one's ever going to know.
Might be on WikiLeaks
it could be on WikiLeaks, or, maybe the guy, finishes up and signs a book deal. Who knows what's going to happen?
I killed bin Laden.
Does that guy get
title?
Does that guy get to go on vacation, or does he have to go right back to training? Like, I can't imagine you're the guy that just took out bin Laden, now you have to go back to your, quote, job. Like, what a letdown.
You go out for beers, and
it's
you're
his
trying to pick up a girl.
It's his stairway to heaven.
Exactly.
What do you do after that?
Yeah, these guys will be given some downtime, because they've been training it's been nonstop training, right?
Right.
In preparation for the op, so they'll definitely get some downtime. But the good thing about these guys is, just like with my old lad, is they know how to keep their mouths shut, right?
Sure.
They know how to, so
that's part of it.
Until there's a reason to, or there's an opportunity, and the military says yes, from our perspective it's okay, then they're going to keep their yaps.
Does a guy like that get special privileges? We've been talking about that off and on.
Let me expose why we talk about that. We all have this daytime fantasy that we're the guys, so we want to be accurate in our fucking childlike fantasies about what life is like after you do that.
I mean, it's not.
I mean, you get an extra heap of mashed potatoes in a mess.
Do you get a break on your taxes? Just some dumb thing.
That's right. A free house and a hybrid car.
Will the president ever put a medal on the guy? I mean, like a public.
There's more than a certificate coming their way. There's no doubt.
I bet they're going to have a.
No,
will the whole team be treated equally? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mike. Will they all, like the guy who actually shot him, it could have really literally been any one of them that shot him. I mean, they're all...
Absolutely. You don't know what's going to happen when you rock up. I mean, you've got your movements, you've got your
the guy
disciplines.
Knows. They all know who shot him.
Oh, no, I know.
Oh, no, they know. But I mean, in terms of once you rock up on site, you don't know. I mean, it could happen to any of these guys. They could be the one who gets to tap them.
You go into a room. And,
did they have a little office pool before they went in?
That's right. Wait, don't shoot him. Remember, Bobby's downstairs and he won. So, Bobby, can you get up here?
Everyone throws $100 in. Whoever gets the kill shot gets the pot.
Where were the kids and the women that they didn't get killed? I mean, there's a couple of people. I didn't realize.
It's a big compound. It was a big compound.
So they had a feeling that that's where they were, and where they had a feeling.
Well, they had to clear the place, and so they you do the logical. They cleared from the ground up. And again, all this was based on the intelligence that they had in terms of the surveillance and everything. So they created the scenario on how to move through this facility.
And you're talking 40 guys approximately that went into this complex.
Was, more than that, but there were not very many that actually landed. But again, there's guys protecting the perimeter, and locking that down.
But I would gather there's also people going through the compound clearing. And if it isn't bin Laden or another guy with a gun and it's women and children, obviously, you don't open up on that. You secure it, and they were given over to the Pakistani officials, the women and children. But, you hold them down, make sure nothing happens to them while... the fun and hijinks happen upstairs or something.
What if you got the duty of watching the toddlers?
I know, that's just bin Laden's getting there's a firefight upstairs and I'm watching some kid piss his pants.
Playing with a stuffed animal. Come on, don't cry.
It's okay. Handing out chocolates like the old days. Uncle Paul.
So you think that so bin Laden, whatever he's doing in the bedroom, knows what's happening. He obviously knows they're coming for him. He hears the helicopters shooting, people yelling in that silly language. And he just got to sit there and kind of wait, knowing he's going to be killed.
Right. Well, he's and he was up on an upper level, and along with one of his wives and a couple others. But I mean, it was clear. I think probably in his mind, once that the choppers came up over, that there was a problem.
Yeah, there could be a problem.
Yeah. And so
having a look at that American soldier though, for that split second or whatever it took before he got popped, had to have just been a moment for him, like, oh shit.
Yeah, but you do have to wonder. Like you said, you raised that question about how long was that invitation to surrender?
Right.
And did the guy have to look through his dictionary? He's keeping a beat on him. He's saying, okay, now let me form a sentence here. Do you want to surrender?
Are you coming with me? Are you going? But to look, because obviously that had to look very intimidating. An American SEAL standing in front of him, armed to the hilt, helmet, night vision, whatever he has on his helmet, and then just having to look at him like, motherfucker, they got me.
Yeah. My neighbor was pissed.
Really?
Yeah, Arnold Al-Zawahiri. He's this guy that lives next door to me.
Oh, God.
Creepy doctor that helps me out when I need Cialis. Egyptian fella.
Crap.
We got he's number one on the list now.
We got more.
Morgan, I guess, is
Morgan
coming
Spurlock. You want to stick around, Mike?
Yeah, I'd love to if you've got space.
Cool.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, it's a timing issue today. We got a lot going on. Morgan did a movie.
He did a movie about going to get bin Laden.
Yeah, so is he outside the studio? Or let's bring in Morgan.
This was, before this happened, he had been putting this movie together.
I'm going to make this movie now.
How you doing, man?
Good to see you again, brother.
Hi, buddy.
Mike Baker.
Mike Baker.
Obviously, we're going to talk about the new movie, but we saw the old movie where you went after Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, I was in Pakistan.
You did. I was trying to remember.
Pakistan. I was watching that movie going, what the hell's he in Pakistan for when we know he's in Afghanistan?
I was trying to remember if you made it to Pakistan in that movie.
No, that's where we ended up. We ended in Pakistan. It's where the film. It's where we stopped.
Right.
We were in Peshawar, about to cross into the tribal areas, and at that point, my wife was about a month and a half away from having our child, and I said, I think it's about time for me to go home. The night before we were about to cross over. Or a couple nights before, 2 nights before, there was a madrasa that was blown up within the tribal area where I guess like 75, 80 people were killed, and the report was it was an Al-Qaeda training camp, and everybody in the region was like, no, it's not true, and all the journalists were there like saying you should not go in there. It would be a very bad idea for you, my American friend, to go wandering in.
What they also said was you should go to Abbottabad. That's right. But I went home.
How far were you from where they actually caught him?
Probably about, when we were in Islamabad, so Peshawar was further west. When we were in Islamabad, we were probably about, I'm guessing, 40 miles.
Yeah, they said 30, 40 miles.
Oh, so close.
Yeah.
You know how annoyed the people that work at the drugstore across the street were? Like, that was fucking 25 million sitting across the street for 3 years.
We blew it. Oh, my God.
And back then, did people think that, he was in Pakistan?
Well, people thought he was, the reports were that he wasn't in that, in this compound where he was that whole time. Like, they didn't get, confirmed intelligence, I think, that he was there until, middle of last year, that he was still moving around. When we were there, everybody was thinking he was still in Waziristan, in the tribal area, hiding out, in that region. So, and that's where everybody was pointing us to head.
Wow.
But yeah,
the
fact that he was in some big giant compound right outside the capital is pretty phenomenal.
It really is. So I guess you were surprised then when you heard the news.
Yeah, it's like why he's right outside of town. He's in the burbs.
He's Howard Johnson right across the street from there.
That's right.
That's why I just pictured him looking exactly like he does with the headgear and the big beard, just pushing a lawnmower outside his house, waving to the neighbor.
Grilling outside.
Yeah. Edging the curb.
Yeah, right.
See this big fucking turban over the 7-foot wall bouncing. Who lives there?
It's a tall gentleman.
Yeah, he certainly is. So what's your new project? You do great stuff, man.
Yeah, no, thanks. It's a new movie that looks at the whole world of advertising, marketing, and product placement. And the whole film's actually paid for by advertising and product placement.
I saw the trailer for this, and it looks hysterical. And it looks at first impossible.
Yeah.
But you pulled it off.
Yeah.
And the product placement thing is hilarious because it's everywhere. It gets to the point where you're just going around getting sponsorships in these meetings,
right?
Which came off, some of them looking ludicrous, sitting down with these people like they couldn't believe what you were trying to do, and but you pulled it off.
Yeah, no, we raised the full budget of the movie through sponsors, about $1.8 million, which is nothing, because the story just broke yesterday that the 007 film, the new 007, a third of that movie is going to be paid for by product placement.
Oh, really?
So a third of $50 million of that budget. So it's that whole movie's going to be a giant commercial
just
for
commercial.
Tuxedos and Aston Martin
watches and cool James Bond shit.
Do you remember the
Walther PPKs?
The first time I saw product placement was in Superman 2 that I can remember, that I recognized, when he gets thrown through a Marlboro truck. That was when they're fighting in the street. That's the first time I can remember acknowledging a product that was in a movie.
He gets tossed through the big Coca-Cola sign.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that part.
That's right. No, I remember as a kid when I went to see E.T. and I'd never had a Reese's Pieces, and as a kid I loved the M&Ms. The M&Ms were amazing. I loved Reese Cups, and now here was a Reese Cup in an M&M. I was like, holy cow, it's the best of both worlds. Shit, I'm in. Yeah.
Did they say that in E.T.? I don't remember.
No, they didn't say what it was. They just said Reese's Pieces, and I said, what is that? And my mom leaned over, she goes, it's like a Reese Cup in an M&M. And I was like, we're going to the store immediately.
Sounds fantastic.
They sold a few through that movie.
Yeah, they did all right.
What was the earliest product placement? Do you know?
Sheets, Birth of a Nation. Very high thread count sheets.
No, the amazing thing, Thomas Edison, or even before that, Jules Verne sold the naming rights to shipping companies in Around the World in 80 Days. So in a book, but in film, Thomas Edison used to put ads for his own products in the movies that he shot.
What a whore.
Genius. I know. Yeah, exactly.
That's great. Hey, the light bulb. Check it out.
Check it out.
This is some good stuff right there. Wow. So you wound up getting the whole thing paid for through sponsorships.
Yeah.
And
so that's the best part. So day one, the movie opened, the film was already in profit.
Yeah. See, that's now Now, what? And all they wanted in return was that their logo be featured.
They wanted a lot more than that. Like, they wanted ownership in the film. We were like, absolutely not. It's like, you're giving me money to be in the movie.
So, right, it's not.
You're going to go sell, like, widgets. Go sell your widgets.
That's so it had nothing to do with them loaning you money and then you having to compensate through profit on the movie. It's strictly product placement. And does it work like a NASCAR sponsorship where, you know, the fender gets a little more, the hood is like the big money, and
like the people who paid the most. Like, I have a suit that I wear on television.
I saw that.
Like my NASCAR prom suit.
Yes.
And so, like, anybody who's in like on the lapels, those are like it's very high dollar value.
That's
like
a big one.
Right across the stomach, high dollar value.
Okay, so it did work like that, where the placement
meant everything.
They had to cough up some more money.
Yeah.
Wow. And the fact that the movie is about getting the money is sort of this weird paradox thing.
Yeah, like Jimmy Kimmel, when he saw the film, he goes, well, this is like the inception of documentaries. And I was like, And I was like, I'm putting that on the poster.
Yeah, because there wouldn't be a documentary if you weren't making it about
something,
making money to make the documentary. So it really is an odd concept, but that's you. That's the odd concept. That is you. Do you notice other people kind of coming out with these Morgan Spurlock-esque documentaries?
Well, it's like I always get sent emails of people who have like the people who continually to make films to like disprove like the McDonald's diet, like the disprove supersized meat. It's like, look, I ate it for 6 years and I'm still healthy. You know, You know, it's so I always get those emails from people, but there's a lot of people who are doing like stunt films now or putting themselves in movies. It's crazy.
Supersize Me was great. You fucked up your body.
Yeah, forever. Like to this day, like I like will gain weight like that. Like I can put on 5-10 pounds in a weekend.
You think that just genetically changed you?
Yeah, well, I think that what people don't realize is when you gain weight, you know, that when you lose it, those fat cells don't vanish. It's like, I'm going to be fine now. It's like those fat cells just don't like jump ship. They're still in there. They're just really skinny. So now my body's filled with all these.
And they're just waiting.
They're just waiting. I got these little skinny Renee Zellweger cells just swimming around my body.
Morgan.
Exactly.
That at any moment, if you eat wrong,
one more slice of pizza. One more.
Is that what lipo does? It actually takes them out. Is that why people get lipo?
It takes the fat cells out.
Oh, okay. So then you can eat a piece of cake at least, so you don't blow up immediately.
That's right. I can't.
Thinking about it?
Of course I am. My idea, I do 30 minutes on the elliptical machine, and I reward myself with a treat. Fucking fat pig hamster.
Poor Jimmy.
Sick of my body.
When does the movie come out?
It's
out.
Just open.
Oh, it is out.
Open.
Just open?
Yeah, just open.
So what was the total budget?
For the whole film was $1.8 million.
That's what I thought you said. Okay,
so it wasn't a lot.
You're probably gonna do well with this. You're not gonna lose, obviously.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully, knock on wood. But that's the thing. Is like there's brands that came on. Like we sold the above the title sponsorship to the movie, so the movie's actually called Palm Wonderful Presents the Greatest Movie Ever Sold.
Yeah.
And so they bought the above the title sponsorship for $1 million, but we didn't get the full $1 million up front. We only got $600,000. So the other $400,000 is tied to certain box office and screens worldwide and downloads and DVD sales and. Yeah, and they were smart about their negotiating.
How much does big product placement cost, like in a major $100 million film?
Well, like in Transformers, they paid like $10 million to have all the General Motors, all the Camaros and all the new cars in there.
Right.
Yeah, but what about a box of cereal in the kitchen?
Oh, it's
you know what I mean?
It's like 50 grand.
That's it.
100 grand.
That seems like a pretty good deal.
Depends on how close it is.
Too bad they didn't do that with Bin Laden's murder. How great would that have been? You know, this shot's sponsored by Bud Light.
I'm really confused by that. I'm confused by this movie because what do you tell the sponsors that they're going to be in this movie?
Yeah. That kind of takes the piss out of being sponsors of the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
but it's kind of like that reverse cool thing, right? Then they kind of get some cred because they're in with something that's
But how do you tell them what they're
in? Right.
How do you tell them what the movie's about?
I basically tell them, it's a movie all about this that's basically paid for by this.
That's
be great.
One of the funniest.
Amazing.
But that's some of the funniest things. What I saw in the trailer was in the conference rooms when you're talking to these people and trying to convince them that this is a great idea.
It's a great idea. It's all about product placement, and you're going to pay to be in the movie. And and it wasn't easy. Like I called over 600 companies to sponsor the film, of which 97.5% of them said no. Like the success rate on this film was like 2.5%.
I was very happy to see the pony shampoo.
Mane and tail.
Mane and tail. Mane and tail got in there.
I just feel like you would be stuck in a loop, though. Yeah. And then they go, but what's the movie about?
Right.
And then you say it again, but what's the movie about?
It's a paradox.
And then I say, you're watching the movie right now. This is it. Right now, we're shooting.
Morgan, you're brilliant.
We're shooting.
You're fucking brilliant.
Yeah, at one point, and the shot is hysterical because somebody goes, what's the movie about? And Morgan just turns around and goes, this is it.
You're in it. You're in it already.
You don't even know it.
What was the biggest surprise yes you got?